It was another big night in the WNBA. First of all, Dallas. I think obviously Dallas was the big loser. They controlled that game versus Atlanta, and they should have won that game. They really let it get away from them. They were fortunate in the mad scramble at the end that Natasha Howard hit the shot to get them to overtime. You could tell on that play the whistle just got put away by the refs. But in overtime, I thought two plays back-to-back symbolized Dallas. First of all, Arike Agumawale forces a ridiculous three-point shot like she tries to push off and get space, and it just had no chance. And then after that, Tiara McCowan, she gets the ball deep inside and is getting mauled and then throws a bad pass that goes out of bounds, and the first thing she does is whine at the officials. And I was like, that symbolizes Dallas's season to a T. And to me, this game definitely had the feel that loser goes home, and it was played with that mentality. You could see both teams wanted it. Tanisha Wright, she was under, you can tell she's under so much pressure. She knows if they don't make the playoffs, she is gone for sure, I think. Trammell might get another year under the proviso. They had so many injuries and it wasn't her fault, but you never know with Greg Bibb and what he might do. But things are very tough for Dallas as they are now 3 games behind. Not to mention they lose out on the tiebreaker to Atlanta as they went 1-2 versus them. So even if it is a tie, they would lose out. Their schedule coming home is brutal as well as they are at the Sky. They need to win that one really bad as they are 1-2 versus the Sky. If they lose that one, they obviously lose the season series and the tiebreak to them as well. Then after the Sky, it is the Liberty, then the Storm. Those all 3 are at home. And then they finish out on the road versus the Fever and then the Aces. Now, Atlanta shouldn't celebrate too much after this victory either. In a lot of ways, this was a game of teams looking themselves in the mirror because I see Atlanta as Dallas Jr. basically. Much like Dallas, without Ryan Howard, Atlanta is lost, and she can win you a game and she can lose you a game very quickly depending on if her shots are going down or not. The other problem is they just never know how much help she's going to get, even if she's on her game. Is Jordan Canada going to show up and have a good game? What about Alicia Gray as well? It's just always, you never know who is going to deliver for them, and it's just consistently inconsistent. And it so much reminds me of Dallas, and their schedule as well is brutal as they are at the Fever, who will be looking to get back in the win column after their loss to the Lynx, and then the Lynx at home, then the Mystics, who the Mystics would be dying to beat up on them and make them get into the lottery because they own their pick. And then they are at the Mystics. Then they have the Sky at home and at the Liberty. Chicago and Atlanta are tied for the 8th seed at 12-22. Chicago's back on track with a win over the Sparks. It was not a pretty game, but my God, Kennedy Carter, she makes a difference as she gives them a chance on offense. Now, Chicago's next game is Dallas at home, and that would put the official death nail to Dallas if they win that, according to my math, as they would be 4 in front with 5 to play. So not totally dead, but it'd be very bleak. Chicago finishes up with the Mystics. After Dallas, they have the Mystics, then they're at the Lynx, the Mercury at home, and then they are at the Dream. They currently hold the advantage in the season series 2-1. And I've got to be honest, I'm not sure what happens if they tie. I'm not sure what the tie break would be. And then they finish off at the Sun. Now, I am looking forward to the matchup of Chicago versus Dallas, as obviously Dallas will be desperate, and just there are a lot of good player matchups like McCowan on Cardoso. And then I'm curious to see if they put Sablé on Reese, or if that will be Natasha Howard on Reese. Actually, that's what I think they'll do. And then I want to see Satu Sablé and Michaela Onyenwerde match up. I think that would be a fun one. And then in the backcourt, Kennedy versus Arike, although I imagine it'll be JC Sheldon guarding Kennedy Carter, and Lindsay Allen and Dana Evans doing most of the work on Arike on the defensive end. But yeah, I do think that should be a good game. And the way this is going, this 4-team struggle for the 8th seed, I've got no doubt Dallas will win just the way it goes. I keep on saying Chicago is not killable, but yeah, it just seems like this race is going to go on to the very last day. So right when I start to write off Dallas, sure, they'll strike back and get one off Chicago. And of course, the only team I haven't talked about fighting for the 8th seed is Washington. They are sitting 10th, just behind Chicago and Atlanta, just one game behind them, and then they are 2 games in front of Dallas. I still don't get it. I don't know how they won at Dallas, and then they got the next game versus the Mercury. I don't know what they're doing. I had a few comments from the last video, not surprisingly. Some were on my side, on Team Tank if you like, and then there were other ones went along the line of it's good they're playing competitive basketball and not for the lottery. There was one saying you got to give them credit for showing some integrity, and I'm just like, yes, integrity's nice, but Paige Beckers would be much nicer. Putting her with Ariel Atkins and Aaliyah Edwards, that would be quite nice. I know the Sparks fans as well chimed in and said, no, Paige is coming to LA and she's going to be fitting in mighty nicely with Rakia Jackson and with Cameron Brink, so good luck to you both. I am not going through the tanking scenarios. Well, I probably will in a later video, but not in this video. The only thing I will say is people keep on asking, the Valkyries or Valkyries, whatever the heck their name is, the Golden State team, they are not in the lottery. They are not in the lottery. It never has happened before. They will get the 5th pick or just outside of the lottery most likely, but they are not getting the number 1 pick. Now, the other fun thing watching is the dance of the 2, 3, 4 seeds versus the 5, 6, and 7 seeds and how this is going to play out. We had a big matchup tonight, obviously, with the Lynx and the Fever, and the Suns squaring off against the Las Vegas Aces. The Aces are getting scarier and scarier. I don't know if they have enough depth or not, but Chelsea Gray is just playing better and better, and that's a scary thing. I've got to believe that New York, who is the 1 seed, is eyeing off Las Vegas as a number 4 seed and getting nervous, saying, oh my God, we have to play them in the semifinals potentially. That would not be fun for them, no doubt. Now at 2-3, Minnesota and the Connecticut Sun are just within 1 game of each other, with Minnesota a 1-game lead. Same thing with the 6-7, as Indiana has a 1-game lead on Phoenix. At this stage, I think it's pretty clear if you are the 2 or 3 seed, what you are wanting to avoid is Indiana, as even though they went down tonight to the Lynx, they're just so dangerous with all that firepower, with Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston. Obviously, just seems like Phoenix is tired. Now, from a fan perspective, I would love to watch the Lynx and the Fever match up because that was beautiful basketball tonight. Both teams move the ball, and it just looks good. It'd be fast-paced, and I think that would be really, really good game. What were the takeaways from tonight's game? Indiana was not good on defense. It seemed like whenever they wanted pick and roll, they would get Alana Smith at the basket. They had a lot of mess-ups on the pick and roll. As well, Aaliyah Boston has a size mismatch on Nafisa Collier, and Nafisa Collier held up just fine. I also thought Bridget Carlson was really good. Now, everybody was talking about the three-pointers she hit, and obviously you would. She played well on offense, but I was more impressed by her defenses. I thought she gave Kelsey Mitchell some problems with her height, or just made Mitchell uncomfortable. The other thing was that the Lynx bench just outplayed the Fever bench, in my opinion. So Xanda Lassini, it seems like she never misses a shot. It's when it's open shot, you just know it's going to go in. Much like when Chelsea Gray had that open shot to end the game, you're like, yeah, that's going to be in. Even before it left her hands, you're like, oh, that's a problem. And then Hines Allen played well, and Heidemann. So overall, the Lynx got 29 points from their bench, where the Fever only got 10 points. It would be helpful to the Fever if they could get Katie Lou Samuelson going, as there were a number of occasions where they were able to put Courtney Williams on Lexi Hull, and Katie Lou has a bit more height than Hull and just a bigger body, and I think that would prevent that in the future, as I think they would have preferred Bridget Carlson on Samuelson, and then that would have put Courtney Williams guarding Kelsey Mitchell, and I think Kelsey Mitchell would have been much more comfortable with that. The other thing that was obvious is just the Fever were very immature in this game. They were whining to the refs and complaining. I can't believe Caitlin Clark did not get a tee. Like, she was clapping at the refs and she was complaining way too much. To their credit, they admitted that after the game. They were like, yeah, we were into the refs too much and not focusing on our game.
Just all kind of gathering our emotions a little bit better and finding better shots. I thought we kind of stopped playing in a way that made us successful in the first half. So just a good learning opportunity for us. I feel like we could have played a lot better But yeah, I mean, I think there's a line, and sometimes your passion, your emotion can get to you, but that's never something I would ever change, or anybody on our team would change. So.
And if you were a Fever fan, you're like, wow, we got blasted in that third quarter, outscored by 17 points, and yet we came back in the fourth quarter and we're just a point down. Like we were in that game. And that's the scary thing, like I say, versus the Fever is just their firepower. They are not out of any game if they get hot. That is why I do want to see these two teams match up in the playoffs. Getting a 5-game series with these two would be great as well. That would set us up for a Connecticut Sun versus the Phoenix Mercury, the old vets going at it. You get a bit of Sophie Cunningham and Marina Mabry going at it. There's sure to be a fight there, those two. Yeah, I just think those two series, that would be the best matchup, and that's how I am hoping the seeding falls. And as well, Las Vegas and Seattle going at it at the 4-5. That would give us unbelievable matchups as well, with Diggin Smith going at it with Kelsey Plum, Jewel Lloyd versus Gray, and then you'd have Gabby Williams going at it against Jackie Young, and of course you'd have Asia Wilson going against Nneka Ogwumike. It is so good if it holds like that. That's what I want to see. Who knows if it happens or not, but man, it would be fun. The matchups over the next 2 days are good as well. So we have the Mercury and Seattle tomorrow. That's at Seattle. Yeah, I've got to go with Seattle on that one. I think they're linked. I think the Mercury really struggle when the other team has a good 4. I think Izzy Magdabor is going to give Phoenix trouble. Sorry, Storm. That means you're going to lose because I predicted you're going to win. Sorry about that. And then on Sunday, we have the Minnesota Lynx going against the Washington Mystics. Beware of the Mystics. They are playing better. They obviously don't get the idea of tanking, and that could be a nice little letdown game for the Lynx. But I am too cowardice to pick the Washington Mystics, so I will go with the Lynx. Atlanta is at the Indiana Fever. I have got Indiana. I think they just have too much firepower for Atlanta. Then the Aces at the Liberty. I wonder if Asia Wilson is going to play. I suspect she might be held out as she twisted her ankle pretty badly at the end of the Sun game. And then the game of the day that I alluded to, Dallas and Chicago. I have got Dallas winning that. I think they will come back and get the win and have too much firepower. Once again, Chicago's going to get me. They always get me when I pick against Chicago. But that is who I'm going with. That is what my mind tells me. And the last one, the Sun versus the Aces. I've got the Connecticut Sun winning that one. Now it's over to you, your poison, your comments. It's all welcome. We will get back to college basketball, but the WNBA is just really cooking right now. Want to focus on that, but college basketball is coming, and we will be getting into it. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.